There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
This is Trey Alexander.
And this is Jon-Mikel Valudes
of Valerian Sun, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. But before I bring on my awesome guest this evening, I just want to ask you guys and gals, would you go out and subscribe to the BODS Mayhem Hour YouTube page? Just click on the notification bell, click subscribe. That way you'll keep it with all these great interviews that's coming down the pipe, and we've got a lot of stuff coming down that pipe for sure. So just give me a subscription notice and like, and I would truly appreciate it. And all these bands would truly appreciate it too. So help us all out. I want to welcome my guest this evening, guitarist Trey Alexander of Valerian Sun. Valerian Sun has released their new single entitled Nina. Also check out singles All at Once and the Burnout on their new album entitled Nina, and also too, this band did one hell of a cover of David Bowie's Fame. So congratulations, man. That, for me, to take somebody's original song like that and do a cover and knock it out of the ballpark is very hard. So congrats.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that so much. It's definitely been a whirlwind, This band is so new, and so, even though I've known the drummer for many, many years, it was a totally unexpected thing to have happen, this whole band thing happening, and definitely trial by fire, and as Jon-Mikel likes to put it, calculated chaos, and that's a good term for it for sure.
So how does it feel to have this new album out entitled Nina finally under your guys' belt and in this library, man? I know it's got to feel good for the both of y'all to see this finally come to life.
Yes.
Mr. Trey, there you go.
Yeah, so it's definitely been amazing. I think, we've all been in this industry for quite a while and been playing music for quite some time, since we were wee little lads, and so to have all, my friends doing this instead of just random people, in the mix feels super wonderful. And I know they have my back in this, and so it just feels great to have, all this hard work and effort kind of come to fruition. So we've been pushing so hard. And of course, I play anywhere from about 10 to 12 hours a day. So music is my life. This is all I do, so it's been really rewarding to have, company of the sort, and have really great musicians also, but also really good dudes that you'd want to just hang out with and be friends with, and that's hard to find. It really is. So to have an organic thing come together like this is pretty magical for us. So we're very blessed.
How did the band come together? How did this all work out?
So originally, Jon-Mikel had called me to do a country project, actually. And he had a country singer lined up, and we were just going to go, try to get together, do a couple tunes in there, and we're really going after just making some marketable, successful music. And I really didn't know which way that was going to go, and then the singer backed out last minute and Jon-Mikel was like, well, we got the dates booked, let's just see what we can come up with. And of course there was no singer, so Jon-Mikel is a hustler, and he went out there and found a singer in a day, and it's like unbelievable. And James Wolpert, who's super talented, he's on The Voice, is just a great guy, but also a really talented musician. We got together one time before we went into the studio, and we really didn't have any music created for it. It was just really a meet and greet, it's just so I could meet him before. Me and Jon-Mikel have known each other for years, but I'd never met James. And so when we hit the studio, it was like, good luck, And as I repeat, the calculated chaos thing, it's definitely what it was. And, I show up into the studio. I had never met Grant and Carson either, which are the producers. And, they handed me I think it was a 5-string multi-scale bass tuned to like low C. And they were just, make something cool. And I was like, oh no. Because I'm a guitar player. I'm not even a bass player, so, but that's when I wrote the riff to All at Once. And we were all sitting around, brainstorming these ideas, of course. So, it's hard to take credit for any one thing. But that was kind of on me to try to start fleshing out riffs on top of these drum grooves, and luckily it worked. It was just the right team of people, and Grant and Carson are really easy to work with, as well as James and Jon-Mikel. And so it makes my job easy with creating. They're super enthusiastic, and it's just good guys. So they're in your corner when you're trying to do this stuff, but it was definitely nerve-wracking. I won't lie, a lot of money on the line, and it could have went totally sour. So it was nice that it worked out so well.
How frustrating was that to have a singer, and you got the time in the studio, and it's like, hey man, I can't do this. I mean, that's got to be like, you gotta be kidding me right now, for real.
Well, I'll tell you, honestly, with that, it was a sensitive situation.
Okay.
I love country music as well. I think, I know for sure me and Trey are very well versed in just the music we listen to. But yeah, this guy who we were playing with before, he was a good friend of mine. He still is. And he was never in a music project before. So Trey knows me well enough. I move really fast. Like I try to get things done pretty quickly. I think we all do. So, I think the guy was telling me, his name was Trent, really good guy. Is like, mental health was getting in the way. It was stressing him out and stuff. So I didn't fight him on it. And, we actually, a big theme of our band is, not even just to say it, but like is mental health and, wellness and making sure that, you're good. And he wasn't, okay with what was going on. So I'm the last person to push somebody, to do something that is affecting them mentally. So, things happen for a reason sometimes. And with James, long story short, I've talked to him in passing. We didn't know each other super well, but he's semi-local. And I made a short list and reached out to Trey, and I was like, hey, this is the direction that we're thinking. What do you think? And Trey was like, for sure, so it's just been, we've been blessed with kind of the way things have happened organically, whether it's been members or, just chemistry. Luckily that's something that's tough, is we luckily just ended up having great chemistry. Yeah. So,
and this is something I've just thought about, man. Maybe this is like I don't know, no disrespect to the previous guy at all whatsoever when I say this.
Sure.
Maybe this is like a meant to be thing. Maybe it was like, okay, no, you don't want to do country. We want to slide this way. Let's you guys take this path. It's kind of like that intervention of the metal gods, I should say.
Sure.
Let's try this.
The pick of destiny, right?
There you go.
Well, and I think that's very, very true. Like, me and Jon-Mikel are definitely into like all kinds of fusion rock and of course classic rock and Van Halen, all that stuff, right? So, not that I don't love country. I actually love like chicken picking country guys like Brent Mason and Danny Gatton and these are like obscure country guys. Greg Koch. There's so many good ones, but that's a very specific, like, kind of fusion genre of country, and this would be more mainstream pop country that we were going after at that time. And I think probably all of us had a little sigh of relief there when we could, you know, like
For
we
sure.
could do rock and roll. Yes, thank goodness. You know, jump up and down secretly. You know?
Yeah.
So what was your guys' thoughts coming into this now, since this new development is happening? Which way did you want to go, or did it just kind of just go on its own path and make its own entity?
So, I mean, for us, I think that it felt way more natural to go this route.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and it's funny, it's like very few times, you know, when you're putting together a band, it's tricky, right? You want guys who get along, but you need a certain level of professionalism. So, you know, sometimes you don't always get the people that you would want to hang out with, so to speak, you know, but you need them for their musicianship or, you know, for the talents that they have. But we're really lucky that it kind of, you know, the light dawned on us just right. And, you know, we all get along. We all enjoy each other's company. We enjoy making music together. You know, I very much feel like a 16-year-old schoolboy in his basement making music, because it's organically awesome, you know, and
Yeah.
that's very rare to find. Like, you know, I remember when I was a kid, you know, your first bands and those little magical sparks that you have, you know, with your friends. And so to have that in a project that has the potential to go, you know, to a national scope and a national level is very awesome for us. You know, we feel really good about it. So
And
I'm very glad.
look how comfortable you two know each other and working together. So you both know exactly what each other wants and can feed off each other and say, okay, this is what John wants, and you know, Trey wants this. So it's a win-win situation for the whole group, I think.
For
Well,
sure.
you know, I've known Trey since I was like, I was 9 years old, I think, when I met Trey. He was like, you know, a little older than me. And so we've known each other for a long time. My dad used to mentor him on the music business side. And, you know, Trey was somebody that growing up, you know, when you're 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, even 30 years old, you know, you see Trey play and you're like, shit, man, I need to practice. You know what I mean? So he drove me a lot to where in nature, I'm very competitive. So it's been a healthy thing to see, you know, Trey come over. I feel like I'm getting to a certain level, and then, you know, it just motivates you to not do the things other kids are doing and, you know, get in the basement or the woodshed and get to the next level, you know.
We got a new bass player now. How's it been working with the new member, Hassan Ali? Let's talk about that. How does he fit this group, and what was it about him that you guys said he needs to be with us?
Well, so the funny thing, so I've known Jon-Mikel all these years, right? And growing up, you know, I'd go over to the house and play music with him, and you know, his dad would coach me and stuff. And so during that time, though, I was in a band called Sonic Lux, and Sonic Lux had 3 members. It was, well, at one point it was 4 members, but it was really me, Hassan Ali, Woody Campbell, and Mike Grisolfi was in there for a time too. And so, you know, that band was our first like really shot at doing like progressive fusion music, right? And so Jon-Mikel followed the band, and he was of course friends, you know, with all those guys as well. And so me and Hassan go way back, you know, to my first band actually. So when we were playing music when I was like 15 or 16 years old, and of course Jon-Mikel knew him through me, right?
Yep.
So we're all kind of connected and bonded. And so it's just so awesome that we're going to be back playing music together. Hassan is like a blood brother to me. So I'm so excited for us to all reconnect because, you know, of course, Jon-Mikel's the same way. So, I mean, it couldn't be any more perfect. You know, I feel so lucky for this to happen.
I mean, look at it. It's all connecting. It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's like I said before, and I'll say this time blue in the face. This was a meant to be thing, guys. You know, think about it.
Yeah.
You guys have known each other since 19 years old, something like that. And now look, you got an old buddy who's coming back into the fold. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Hey, John, we've thought about that. It's funny. Like, I remember vividly the night that it was probably 2 months ago. I was about to go to bed. Trey and I are both night owls, so like it's probably 3 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Trey says, in true musician style, you know. So I texted him and I'm like, hey man, at 3 a.m., mind you. Hey, what do you think about Hassan, you know, joining the band? I wanted to get Trey's blessing first, and I knew that Trey obviously was really close with Hassan, but just out of a formality, you know, and respect, I wanted to ask Trey. So long story short, you know, Hassan is in the doctorate program for music composition at Stanford in California. So he's flying back, you know, like he's flying up here. We just announced today that we'll be in, and I'm sorry if I'm taking questions away from you. As I'm speaking, I'm realizing this, but he's flying up from California this weekend, and then we're going back into the studio. So it's the first time Hassan will be working with us. And yeah, but you're right, man. It's just one of those things. I don't necessarily subscribe to the meant to be thing, but in this situation, it's hard to
it's hard
dismiss that for sure.
Yeah, and dude, I feel you guys. Just like musicians, I sit here at night and work on my interviews till 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I love it.
Yeah,
I do, and that's just to stay on top of the game, you know. Just
for sure.
On. And I love it. I love it.
Where are you from, John?
I'm from Kentucky.
Very
okay.
cool.
Eastern part of Kentucky, where the major flood hit a couple months ago.
Oh wow!
Oh, right.
Yep, that was around me.
God.
So thankfully, everything's getting back to normal. Some, I'll say.
What are the main bands that you listen to? Like right now, what's in your rotation?
Oh God, Black Label Society. Misfits, of course.
Okay.
God, who was I listening to earlier? Rage Against the Machine.
Okay. Tom Morello, yeah.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of punk bands. You know, I love my punk music.
Okay.
There's a tribute to Duran Duran. I listen to a lot from a bunch of punk bands. They redid all their songs. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. And oh man, just anything and everything I can get my hands on. A new Slipknot, I've been listening to that one. New Megadeth.
Yep.
The new Megadeth is so good.
Yeah, that's sick too. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Lamb of God's new stuff. Just I'm all over the place, man. Like I was listening to Loretta Lynn stuff the other day, just some simple fact she's from Kentucky. You know, right down the road.
I didn't know she was from Kentucky. That's crazy.
Yeah, she's right down the road from me. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to her.
Yeah,
I'm all over the place.
Yeah, so I was just about to say that's a good, like Trey and I are like that too. So that's pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, it frustrates me when people are they're just one set minded and go straight down that path of that. And I'm like, look, man, there's more stuff out there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just gotta listen. You know.
Absolutely. Have you listened to? Did you listen to all the music so far that we have? Or
I have listened to the debut one, which is All at Once.
All at Once.
That one, and I listened to Nina.
Okay.
Nina's
you got to check out the Burnout. There's a music video for it as well, and that one is based off of the music that you say you listen to. That one is probably more catered for you. That, I mean, of course, All at Once is pretty heavy, but the Burnout is like there's a lot of 80s hair metal influence into it, but it's kind of like twisted into more of a modern pop rock thing. It's always hard to put a label on things, but like just to simplify it, I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you think of that one as well.
I've been also diving into my Rammstein discography.
Rammstein. Okay. They put on a really good show, I've heard.
Oh, yeah. It's insane, man. I wish I can go watch them, but just insane. I listened to a lot of Van Halen this morning going to work. I was listening to them.
Nice. You gotta love Van Halen.
You got to. At least one song by them. You got to.
Yeah.
All right, guys. What led the track All at Once to be the first single released? What was it about that one? I said, yeah, let's just put this one out there because there's other bangers on this. I know, but why specific?
Bangers.
Yeah. Well, for us, it was really one of those things where every time we get booked to do the studio time, right, we're in a trial by fire kind of thing. So we're recording them. I mean, they're all on the fly. Everything is done in the moment. There are no it's not like we have songs in the queue and then we go in there and flesh them out or finish
We
them.
write from scratch. Yeah.
Yep, it's all from scratch. So that was the first song. That was, they handed me that multi-scale bass and I started playing the riff and James had a really brilliant melody to go over top of it and wrote some lyrics to it. Next thing we knew, we Grant and Carson put it together, helped us get it together right, and the magic was there. So that was the reason why. It was just that it all came together so easily,
Did all these songs come together pretty fast? Because I know you guys were like in 4 days in the studio, but was you guys shocked at how quick these songs were flowing?
Well, yeah, they all were written by scratch in the moment, on the fly, in the studio for the time we had. So it was like, the last time we were in the studio, we had 4 days, Jon-Mikel, is that what we had?
The second time it was 6 days.
Okay, 6 days. But I only was there for 4. That's right?
Yep, 3 songs in 6 days. So essentially, it's like we go into the studio with nothing written intentionally, and we commit to our first instinct. So we'll go in, let's say we book 6 days like we did the second time. It takes, 6 days to write 3 songs. If we did 10 days, we would get 5 songs out of it. So the first time it was 4 days, we did 2 songs. The second time it was 6 days, we did 3 songs.
Mm-hmm. And so the first 4 days I was in there. This last time, now the first time when we were all together, but this last time I was in there and It was just me and Jon-Mikel. And so basically it was just one of those things where we would just, jam on some ideas and everybody was there kind of in a listening group. So, Carson and Grant were there with us and I would play some things. And as, if something cool came up, then we would run with it. You know what I mean?
Was there a track though that you were working on that totally ended up sounding different than what it was intended to? Was there one that just kept changing, or did you guys say, no, let's just go and hit it?
We just followed our first instinct with them, so we didn't have anything pre-going.
Yeah, right.
So it was it was really just that way. It was so all the songs that we, they were basically like, okay, I'll play a riff. If something comes cool of it, then we'll start building on that riff, right? So. And that's how we built all those songs, right? So it took a little bit, to filter out some of the other ideas. And I think from the first recording session, we had a couple little clips where they would catch, when I was just B-rolling, when I was just jamming. Jon-Mikel's always recording everything. So, I'm so thankful he does, because a lot of it's just improv, right? So it's just me fooling around on the guitar and so the main song, Nina, the one we just released, that hook riff was just something I was jamming in the studio, and he happened to catch on one of the extra cameras, and kind of listened to it a bunch, and he was like, "That one we should probably use." And so when we went into the studio, that was the only track really that we knew was going to be a head riff of a song, but we didn't know what it was going to turn into. Really, we didn't.
See, that's why John records. That's what. Good job, John. Good job. That's what you do.
It's like being. I'm not the dad in the band, but it's like a dad, never being in the pictures, and I have all this content. I'm like, man, I'm really in none of this. Do I even exist? You know what I mean?
The guy behind the mastermind, Jon-Mikel.
So this time we have, when we go into the studio, we have we hired a commercial video company. They're coming in. So we'll be there 4 days, they'll be there 3 days, and then we have another guy coming in the other day. So as you know, John, nowadays, you're gonna be complacent if you don't have content.
Yep.
And it has to be almost video now.
Yeah.
So we're just so focused on trying to stockpile a lot of content and it be quality and stuff that actually people will enjoy, not just a bunch of fluff, which is actually tough to do, It
is. And being a content creator like me, everything I do, it goes on all
Exactly.
the social medias, and it's so frustrating. It's like, okay, you can't just do one, you have to do every single one of them.
Yeah.
It's so hard, like you said, man, to stay ahead and keep that content growing, because I'm doing 3 other podcasts.
Yeah.
Not just
okay.
I do a paranormal one, which I'm getting ready to start doing filming.
Nice.
And we're gonna do B-roll and all that stuff, and it's that's another thing. It's just, oh my god, it's gonna be so wild. And then I'm starting a wrestling podcast.
Nice.
Oh, just you got to stay on top of and try to do what you love, and that's what I'm gonna do.
It's funny, John, because on paper, you know, when you tell people like, oh yeah, you know, I'm spending 10 hours a day doing this, and when you tell them, oh, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm like editing videos, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you said it best, you know, like it's not one platform. It's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know, I mean, YouTube. And then on the other hand, like trying to learn other platforms and then trying to scale the existing platforms, because there's so much that goes into, you know, you could have the best music in the world. You could release the best song in the world, but it's difficult to get it in people's ears. You know, there are, I think it's 22 million songs a year released on Spotify or something. And
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's like 10% or 90% of that 22 million is 61,000 artists or something. So, you know, just the attention to detail and doing the work and being independent, like Trey said, it's not cheap to do it the way we're doing it. But, you know, if you want to have quality, not only music, but quality like content to support the music, takes up so much time and stuff. But, you know, thankfully we like doing it, you know, we like music. So we love music, and I'd rather do something that I love than, you know, sit behind a desk and you know, play with a calculator.
Yeah, like I said, man,
Yeah.
even as a podcaster, you're always, just like a musician, you're always trying to learn stuff. You're always trying to figure out what else I can do to
Absolutely
this podcast up, you know. And I'm always doing that. I do giveaways, and I'm not bragging on myself or anything like that. I'm just very, very proud of what I do. But I'm very, very lucky and thankful that I have 912 subscribers on YouTube, and that's very hard.
And that's not easy.
Oh,
that's not easy. It sounds, when you tell somebody that, they're like, only 900. It's like, you go try to do that. It's not easy.
No, and it's
the first 1,000 is the toughest. The first 1,000.
I'm close, but yet so far, and I've worked my butt off to get it in a couple of years, and it don't happen.
Congrats on that, dude. I
appreciate it.
You know, that takes a lot. It does take a lot of work. It's not just saying that. So
no, and exactly, and all these people that blow up overnight, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna get on my nose and act stupid. You know?
Yeah. I like your mic though. I have that mic also. That's a really nice mic. It makes you sound like a radio guy, you know.
I love this shit. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't.
It's awesome, man.
Yep. Yeah. Thought about getting me another one, but I don't know yet. I'm still debating. Use it for power.
You should get like 4 more and just like surround yourself with them and call it spatial audio, you know.
They are cool looking, you know.
Very, very nice. All right, guys, any tracks standing out more to you than you right now on this album? I know these are your babies. I know that completely, but are there any that stick out possibly?
I mean, I love them all for different reasons. I think, you know, let's see, we got All at Once, the Burnout, Nina, the Fame track, and what's the one I'm missing, Jon-Mikel, with the jazzy intro?
That one's not out yet. One last time.
Yeah, it's not, so I can't say anything.
Isn't that well, I mean, you can say
One Last Time is another one, and I think that's going to be really cool to release too, because you know, James is such a talent, and it's been really special working with him, because not only is he a great vocalist, but he's also a great guitar player. He's also very knowledgeable at recording, and so to have somebody like that to spitball ideas, you know, has been wonderful. And I mean, I loved the Burnout. The Burnout was a lot of fun to do. But definitely, I mean, all of them are really cool in different ways. I think Nina has probably the catchiest backdrop to like really hit in a big way. You know, it's got a really catchy hook riff. You know, even my wife likes it. So, you know, anything that girls catch on to, you know, tend to be a little more popular. You know what I mean? Guys will
Yep.
like cool shreddy guitar solos, but sometimes girls will be like, I don't much care for this one, Not
We
always,
have,
but
we have
Yeah.
something for everyone. That's
That's
kind of what we're and not to sound goofy, but like we're really trying to, do that is be a little diverse. Being a rock band, people when they hear, oh, you're in a rock band, they think that maybe you're just one dimensional and you hear something in your head. But like the Nina song is definitely more vulnerable, I would say. In the writing process, it was more of a vulnerable writing process, and the Burnout is more of like kind of a parody, kind of making fun of. Part of it is making fun of like something that's serious, which is burning out, and that's not a fun thing to do, and I know we've all experienced that. And then Nina is kind of a reflection of the grieving process in a positive light, not to be not really driven by sorrow, but more like we've all lost people that we love, and trying to find the positive aspect in that, which is your experiences and growth. So that one's a little more serious, and then the Burnout, and then Fame. So we're super stoked for these next two. I've been saying to these guys too, we've all really been saying the same thing now that I think of it, but it's like if you follow football, let's say sports, like the preseason, like I feel like the 5 songs we have right now are like pretty much us in the preseason. We're just getting to know each other musically. And these next two, it's kind of like the regular season starting. Not to put down the songs we've already done, because we are super proud of them and they're great songs in our eyes, but it's a beautiful thing when there's hope of evolving.
Where did Nina come from? Did that just come out of left field, or was it something that you wanted to write and just maybe grow and let it grow? You know what I mean? Just
that I'll say, John, that actually, first off, like the instrumentals were written first. That was based off of a riff that Trey played in the first round of studio sessions, like 2 months prior. And then there was a Saturday where James came in, the vocalist. The producers are Carson Slovak and Grant McFarlane at Atrium Audio at the Rock Lidditz campus, which is a big time creative campus out here in our area. And it's, like I said, it's more intentional. Like that one, not to get into it, but my brother, part of the reason this band exists is my brother took his life in 2013. So, I went through that, and to follow the theme, like I got burnt out. I got burnt out of the music industry. I kind of lost my way. And, I know Trey and I relate in that aspect as well. But, with Nina, we were in the studio having a conversation about that. Like, James was talking to me and I was like, yeah, man, like it's, that was a terrible experience, but, I believe that everybody has a purpose and a passion. And I think it's really important when we're young, right? Like you are, John, to go after the things that you love. And if you fail at them, that's kind of the theme of this band, is like, we're obviously not striving for failure, but, if you fail at it, but you worked your hardest and it was something that you loved, then there's nothing to be worried about. Let the music do its own thing. You do your own thing. And, my purpose is, doing this for my brother. And Trey lost his dad, when he was 18, and, that's his purpose. And it's not really like, it's tough. I don't even like bring that stuff up too often because it's kind of a downer, but like on the other end, it's not a negative to us or anything that makes us sad. It's actually something that, like, I really respect people that, take the risk like you're doing, John, and you love it, dude, and you're going after it. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, if you love it and it fulfills you, it doesn't need to fulfill anybody else, unless it's an art form, which it is coincidentally. So the cool thing is with your art and our art, you know, you have an avenue to potentially share positivity with others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing these. Like I said, I love doing these interviews. They don't really feel like interviews. It just feels like guys on here talking music. That's it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I take pride on is my questions. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They're good questions. Yeah.
Well, kind of a crazy thing. I don't know if I even told you about this yet, Jon-Mikel, but
Yeah.
you know, my good buddy Kendall, you know,
Yes.
he had always said, you know, he's been coming to see me play for years, you know, and he goes, you know, one day you're going to have to get a vocalist. And as soon as you do, you know, that'll be the ticket, you know,
Oh,
unfortunately, you know, he passed away not long ago. And, you know, he's a big influence in my life and a very big, you know, just supported me you know, most of my life, kind of similar to Jon-Mikel's dad and Jon-Mikel himself. And so I know he's up there looking down on us, you know, but it's just crazy to think of the timing, you know, because it wasn't, I mean, I think you were calling me right around when he had passed away, and
Crazy.
And almost like he was sending those vibes, you know what I mean? I sit around thinking about it. Sometimes it's just so strange, you know, and what a cool thing, you know, because he had always wanted me to kind of do this and get in a band with a group of guys and go after it with a vocalist, you know, and here we are. So it's really cool. You
Well,
know?
like John said, you know, it's kind of like the meant to be thing. And it's
exactly.
like we said, we joke around about it. Like, this is kind of getting weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
With the coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying. You guys need a vocalist. Guess what? Your buddy's up in the heavens. Like, here you go. Here's this guy. Go call him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is crazy, you know. And the that's the weird thing. Like James has got so many things under his belt, and we're into so many different styles of music, you know. So it's like we'll be at rehearsals just goofing around, and you know we'll go into something completely different, say like a Zeppelin tune, like Immigrant Song, and James will just kill it. And then he can go all the way from that to like a Queen song, you know. And so all the way to like a rock ballad, you know, or like a hard rock ballad. So it's like just about anything that you throw at him, he's going to find a way to make special in his own. So it's been really exciting. It's, you know, so fortunate and blessed that this all worked out, you know?
So any songs, guys, that did not make this album that was left behind to maybe for maybe another album or an EP down the road, maybe, or no?
Nah, yeah, we're like the studio we record at, it's like both the guys are Grammy nominated, and in full transparency, it's not cheap, but it's worth it because they're, first of all, great human beings, but they're also, you know, high in demand. So anything we can get, you know what I mean? We've got to use it. Maybe someday if we decide to, you know, sign with a label or, you know, go that route where we're not funding everything, then we'll have the flexibility to kind of, you know what? I don't know. Let's keep this one for ourselves for a little bit. But right now, you know, we don't have that luxury, but yeah, we're looking forward to that. We also, like, people, every interview we get asked, you know, is there an album coming? And that's a great question too. But like, it's crazy to think, man, like albums are so expensive if you're an independent. Like, one positive element of, you know, the infrastructure of where the business is right now is that like albums are not as common anymore. It's singles.
Yeah.
Because if we had to cut an album, it'd probably be $30,000-$40,000. And that's like, my girlfriend would cut my head off. You know what I mean?
Well,
and you're not the only one.
I know guys who spend that much just on a case or a box of cards, and I'm going, why? I mean, I would love to have that type.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
I'm a huge sports card collector, so I would love to spend that type of money. Trust me.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But God, man, you're right. Everything's so single. And it's not like, it's like, if you don't have anything out by, let's say, okay, this is October the 12th at the time of this interview, I'm just going to throw this out here, November 15th. If nothing's out, somebody will say, what's our latest stuff? They come out with anything new here lately? Well, yeah, we just came out.
That's, dude, you are
so true.
so on it, man. Like, we have one more song that hasn't been released that's done. And we've been real careful about like spacing things out. You don't want to space it out too much, but you know, it's shooting yourself in the foot. Like, we want to release music super often, but we also don't want to release everything and then it be 2-3 months until we release something else. So I think we're playing it as well as we can right now. This will be our, you know, Nina came out. That's what we're really promoting right now. And that's, I'll tell you, out of this, all the 5 songs that we have, the one that's also not released, we have all focus grouped it to plenty of people. I mean, probably well over, you know, probably close to 200 for us. That's a lot just personally, but I would say 95% or more have said Nina is the best song we've had. And we've had like 6 or 7 people, literally. I know I've had like 3 or 4 people that aren't even family, like get emotional, which is a beautiful thing. But like, you know, that this song is like so important to us. And like you said before, is there one that is, you know, special and stands out? And after we kind of think about it, I know we're really connected with that song. We really enjoy playing it at rehearsals and stuff, which we're doing right now. But
partially, you know, the backstory of Nina, and I don't know how much we're supposed to talk about it, but there's a sensitive backstory to Nina that doesn't get. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jon-Mikel, with James and what happened? Obviously, you do, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't get into that.
But I thought
it's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it is what you're thinking. So point being though is that there's a sensitive backstory, and we're connected to it in a very deep way, and so I think that song is special in that way. You know, it has a very catchy hook and stuff, but also the meaning behind it is very special and means a lot to James, but also means a lot to all of us because of that. So
I think we can say, and I get why that is an interesting thing to bring up, Trey. I think we can say that James went, you know, through a loss and it affected him. Actually, he was supposed to, I just don't like getting into his details. I know Trey doesn't either, but I know that we can say before the studio, we had the instrumentals done and James was supposed to have the songs like written by the time we came back to the studio. And I was frustrated, I'll be honest, and he knows this, and James knows this as well. I've said this publicly, but I was like, dude, you didn't get anything done? And he didn't say anything at first. And then he finally was like, well, I'm sorry, man, but I've been having a rough week, you know, had a loss. And, you know, it was even tough for me to come in this morning. So it was that song. That's why, you know, it's pretty special to us, is like, it was written in his grieving process. And we wanted to be very particular that we're not writing like downers, you know, but we also want to be pretty intentional with, you know, like emotion and the way it feels and the positive that comes from loss. You know, you have the experiences and those people that you valued in your life that are no longer with us. You know, they had a high influence on us. So, yeah, you know, it's I think it's very relatable. Like, we've all dealt with stuff like that. James was dealing with something like that in the moment, and you know, thankfully, I mean, I think Trey and I were kind of thinking it would sound more like a Maroon 5 type song, and then when James wrote that, it was completely different from, I think, what Trey and I imagined it would have been. Would you say so, Trey?
Yeah, but you know, I'm very happy with it. You know, I think that's a very cool thing about life. You know, sometimes through those crazy, terrible, here, hold on one second. Sorry. Sometimes through those crazy, terrible, hard times, is the rebirth of these magical moments. And it's what connect us as human beings. We all deal with these things, and we all go through hardships and loss. And, it's the one thing that defines us, right? Is that this is not a forever game. This is a very finite time. And so everything we do has an impact on each other and on everyone around us. So it's pretty magical when you're able to, even though sometimes we don't feel like doing anything during those hardship times, some of our best stuff comes through those hardships. And I think it's the way that God works through us, it's how he molds us, right? Like it's, unfortunately, we learn the most during that time too. That's the experience, right? Wisdom trumps knowledge. And why it does, right, is that it's once you go through something like that, you can tell somebody all day long about it till you're blue in the face. But once you experienced it, it changes you forever. Exactly. And I wouldn't trade any of that stuff in my life. And I've been through some pretty terrible things, but they made me so much better as a human being. And so, I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. I feel very lucky, even though at the moment I probably would have wanted to get rid of them.
Oh yeah.
I'm so thankful I went through them because they made me a much better man.
How crazy is this? You lost your dad at 18. I lost my dad at 18.
That's crazy, man. See what a coincidence is that? And,
exactly.
And what a crazy thing to go through, right? Like it's but I always think back, like all the kids that I know who suffer, who don't have any father figure, who grew up with no parent figure around them. And, I felt so lucky to have a father, to have a dad for all those years. I mean, of course, during that moment, you feel robbed, you feel upset and angry. But what you realize is there's kids every day that grow up and wake up every day as young children and don't have a father figure. So the fact that I had one, I feel so lucky that I had such a supportive dad, so.
You worked with Grammy-nominated producers Grant McFarland and Carson Slovak, as you mentioned. Working with these guys, did they get something out of you all that maybe other producers might not have gotten, possibly, or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're both really talented, multi-instrumentalists. Going to a guy like that, first of all, they're fun to work with. They're super good at what they do. And so they help push this process because they're very good on the fly too. And I come background, and so does Jon-Mikel, of a lot of improv music where everything is on the fly, right? And when you play that kind of music, you get used to that, but sometimes people don't work well like that, and so we've been very fortunate that the people in this team, including those two producers, are very good at working right on the fly and bending and swaying as this ship is moving, right? And figuring the direction of the course and still keeping it somewhat in bounds so that we don't go down the trail of craziness, which one day hopefully we'll be able to afford to do that. But right now we have to rein in some of these ideas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say we consider them sort of the unofficial, I guess now fifth and sixth member, because we have a fourth member. I used to say fourth and fifth, but they're like the unofficial members. I
agree.
Super supportive. The cool thing is, like, they're the big dogs around here. Like they do like August Burns Red. They've done my old band From Ashes to New. They've done Live, Everlast. They've worked with a lot of big rock and roll bands, and we're just so thankful to be working with those guys. And they've known of Trey, for a long time, and I've known them, since I was probably 20 years old or something, and James has known them in the past. So like I said, the chemistry thing, man, the probability of initially putting 3-5 people in a room creatively who have never all together worked on anything, and like is crazy. And like James, Trey, and myself, just to put some context on this and how crazy it is that we went in and wrote that stuff from scratch in our eyes, is James, Trey, and I have only ever together been in a room for like 2 hours prior to sitting down and writing music in the studio with like a term on it. We had 4 days, and if we weren't done in 4 days, tough luck. Yeah. So 2 hours, we had a meeting, and then a week or 2 weeks later was the next time we all saw each other. And Grant Carson were like, what genre are we even doing here today? Like literally when we walked in, we're like, I don't know. I mean, rock's very broad, but so we had to figure all of that out, figure out who we were or who we thought we were. Yeah. And then record it all. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Jon-Mikel's father used to be your mentor, Trey. Let's talk about this a little bit. Why did you want to pick his brain so much about the music industry and going into this, man?
Well, it's funny about the whole growth of our relationship. It was, it was one of those things where my dad had passed away. I was young, 18 years old. In fact, I think your dad might have known my dad. I don't know when he met me exactly. If he would have known my dad, he might have seen him a couple of times in past.
I think he's met him like one time.
That's what I thought. I thought he had met him one. But when he passed away, I really had no other male figure, father figure in my life, no mentor in that way to help guide me through the treacherous waters of business. Right. And as you know, as most musicians are, we're hyper focused on one thing, and, I play guitar 14 to 16 hours a day. I still do every day. And so that's what I do, Yeah. But he was like, if you're going to get anywhere with this, you're going to have to start doing things in the business world so that you can sell this product you have. It's one thing to have your talent. It's another thing to package it and do something with it,
Exactly.
And so, he took me under his wing and really helped me understand a lot of that. And, at the time I was doing lessons with him too. So I was giving him guitar lessons but I would come over all the time, like 3 times a week, I think at one point, right, Jon-Mikel? I mean, it was a lot. And
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and I think like Saturdays after work or something like that.
Yeah. And, at one point we even had a business coach with us, helping us, Glenn Ebersole.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. That. And so it's really fascinating because, I just liked his dad and I trusted him right away. I felt something with him and very rarely do you meet people like that you just connect with, you're supposed to be around this person, and his dad just believed in me so wholeheartedly too. He knew, and his dad's not like that with everything, but he's very good at picking certain things and knowing when to run with it. He's a very good advisor with that kind of stuff. And so, during my guitar competition, after I won that competition, I didn't know what else to do, so coming and brainstorming with Mike and trying to figure out like, okay, now where do we go from here? Because it's one thing to win a big thing like that, but really, you're only really promised one article, and then you got to do something with it. Yeah. And, playing in your local bars isn't going to cut it, right? You got to do something on a bigger, more national level. And this is really before YouTube was real big, So we went to all the NAMM shows, he helped me kind of organize a strategic plan, helped me build a press kit, helped me focus my energy so that when we went to these places, we were effective. And I think I came home that first year at NAMM and I think I had like 23 guitar endorsements, and that was the accumulation of, of all that hard work and effort we had been doing those 2 years, sitting down those, for a musician to get up at 6 a.m. I mean, that's tough, right? but we were all doing it 3 times. You know, his dad's used to it, but for us, it's hard, you know, because usually I'm going to bed at that time, you know. So,
Yeah, no kidding.
but I remember many nights, you know, getting ready to go to bed so that I would be ready for those events and those strategy plans, you know, and man, it's just changed my life forever, you know, and still when I go over there, it's so crazy. It's like, you know, this journey has been going on for a while, and we finally feel like we've arrived in a sense that we've got the right team together, you know. Yep. And how cool is it that not only is the right team me and him doing it, right, me and Jon-Mikel's dad, but now it's me and his son. Yep. And you know,
crazy.
I mean, the chances and the luck of that. And, you know, because Jon-Mikel could have done whatever he wanted to do. You know, he's a driven guy and he's talented. So he could have picked any world to jump into and been successful at it. But
thank you.
Yeah. But he really focused his efforts on music. And I remember that even at a young age, you know, everything I would go over there and anything I said, you know, he would really pay attention when I was talking music and was just so driven by it. So it was really great to see that growth and progress, but then also to have it come full circle and have him be such an integral part of leading this quest that we're on, you know, to succeed in this industry and to write great music together. It takes a lot of drive and a lot of commitment, and you know, to have a best friend doing that and somebody who's also very talented, to watch him grow up into being a leader, you know, has been such a rewarding thing for me. So I feel super blessed to have him at the helm of the ship, you know.
You said something very key there, and that key word, 2 words, is pay attention. That's the big key there, is pay attention. And
yeah,
you know, I try to pay attention to figure out how to get sponsors, how to do stuff more for BODS Mayhem Hour. But sometimes you just hit that door and there's just nothing. And it's like, what do I got to do? You know, what do I have to do? You know, you try to reach out to people to help you, and it's just like, shut the door. Yeah.
I'll tell you though, John, you know, my world before this was sales. So they have something called the Pareto principle. And they say everything is 80-20. And this is something that when I first heard it, long story short, I didn't think, you know, it just sounds like BS, honestly. Like, oh yeah, everything's 80-20. But I've focused on it. It's true. You call 100 people, 20 people will answer, and 20% of those 20 people will either, you know, they'll buy or they'll give you an opportunity. So if you're looking for opportunities, it's a matter of endurance, which is the tough part for myself as well. But like calling 100 people and being like looking for no's is the thing. It's like not looking for yeses, because you'll beat yourself up and you won't make it to 100. Yeah. But calling for no's. And then, you know, I used to do sales management, and I'd ask people, I'd be like, how many no's did you get today? And they'd be like, well, and I'm like, I don't care about the yeses. How many no's? And if they're not scared of the no's, if they're looking for them, they'll get the yeses. So it's a numbers game. And I think that's something that's like gold, that is so simple that a lot of people don't know. And if you've never heard that before, I challenge you to try that. Is just make a list and start calling people or emailing or whatever and expect a no. Yeah. But push for the yes, but, you know, tally up the no's and you'll naturally get yeses. It just naturally will happen.
Your dad's first thing, you know, he didn't call it that to me, but he might have. I was just too young to know, you know, but that was one of the first things he made me do, you know, was just like, okay, man, what are you going to do? You get up at, you know, instead of getting up right before you go into lessons, you don't have to be in until 2 p.m. So why don't you call these people on the East Coast, and you're going to get up at, say, 9:30 or 10. And instead of just fooling around at your house for 3 hours, you're going to cold call all these people from 10 until 1 p.m. before you have to leave. Mm-hmm. And then you get home, you got 2 more hours, you got to do it too. And he said, I don't care about what you get. You're going to do it every day.
Yep.
And we'll revene back in a few months and see what happens. And it blew me away how fast it happened. You know what I mean? Just how things would piece themselves together. And a lot of times, even though they're no's that you're getting, they're also hearing your name though. So even these guys who might not want to help you in the beginning, by the end of it, end up calling you later and go, hey, 3 of my buddies are now working with you. You know what I mean? And they said that, you know, even though I turned you down at the previous time, you know, now they do want to work with you. And so, yeah, that's so true, Jon-Mikel. Definitely true.
And when you follow up with them too, that's the last thing I'll say is if they give you a no, put them on a follow-up list, call them again. And they say there was a Ivy League study that said it takes like 3 no's to get to a yes or something. So if somebody's a no initially, you want to create a follow-up list to reach out to them 3 times. And if they say no at the 3rd time, then move on.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it works. It does work.
I believe that. Yeah.
All right, Trey, my last question for you guys. Even though you are a guitar teacher, what do you do to come up with different riffs or be more creative? Because I know jamming on a guitar all day, it's got to be kind of hard to coming up with stuff. But,
you know, it's funny, man. You know, I hear people talk about this often and, you know, hitting those dead walls or, you know, feeling uninspired. But I feel really lucky because I'm like a nerdy kid at the candy store. Like the guitar is my favorite thing on this planet. I cannot get enough of it. I could play it 20 hours a day and I would still want to play it more. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times I'll teach, you know, say a 12-hour day or a 14-hour day. And the first thing I do when I get home is pick up my guitar. I mean, I just love it that much. So for creating riffs and stuff, I really just try to think of, like, for me, it's a channel thing. So, you know, everybody has a different belief thing, but for me, it's God. So I feel like that channel, my job is to not muck up the channel from God. So as those kind of ideas are coming through your soul, you're just trying not to muck up the technical part of it, you know? And so my job is to try to work on my proficiency, try to work on my knowledge of music, try to do all the back end part of it so that when those riffs arise, and they, you know, that's why you hear a lot of people say they come out of thin air, but I really think they're a God thing for me. You know, they come from there. And so I'm just trying not to mess it up. And so if I can get out of the way of my ego, you know, there's a couple books that are really great. Victor Wooten's The Music Lesson, Effortless Mastery, which is a Kenny Werner book. And I think I got his name right. And then there's a new one too, which is called The Spirit of Music. That's also another Victor Wooten book. But these are all books about, you know, trying to free your mind from that inner ego. To try to let go, because, you know, everybody wants to get good at something. Everybody wants to feel validated. Everybody wants to feel like they've accomplished something. But I think sometimes we're our worst enemy. In other words, if we're doing what we love, we have arrived. You know, I remember hearing that as a kid. You know, if you're playing music and you're not working a day job, you have made it. You know, and so that was my goal always as a kid, is just try to play as much as I can so that maybe one day, you know, I could just make music my living. Right. And so luckily that happened very early on. And so I think most of this comes from a very natural progression of just, you know, creating on the fly, but allowing yourself to, like, put the ego out of it. Right. It's just, you know, listening to the musicians around you. You know, as these ideas come up, you know, don't be selfish, right? You know, everybody wants those standout moments, but the song is most important. The song is king, you know, and God is channeling through us to make that song. So try not to mess it up. You know what I mean? Try not to get in the way of it with your ego, you know?
All right, folks, you want to get out and pick up Valerian Sun's singles Nina, which is the new one. You also want to check out All at Once and the Burnout, and also their cover of the mighty David Bowie's Fame. You want to check that out as well. So Guys, how can folks stay in touch with you, buy some merchandise, tour dates when you do go on tour?
Yeah.
Everything. How can they do that?
So we do have a website. It's www.valeriansun, VALERIANSUN.com. We need to update that. It's still pretty current, but that's the website, valeriansun.com. And then we're on almost every social platform. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're on that. And that is, the tags are all consistent. They are the Valerian Sun, because Valerian Sun was not taken on some and taken on others. We wanted to be consistent. So we added the, not trying to be pompous, but the Valerian Sun. So it's TheValerianSun on all platforms. So follow us on there. We are going to be in the studio next week. There's going to be a ton of content that we're going to be posting. So even if, you're new to us, which I'm assuming you are, because we're a newer band, follow us on the journey. That's what it's all about. And we're going to spend the effort and resources on, capturing a lot of video that shows you an they're not unethical for sure, but what would you say, non-traditional writing process of going into a studio, writing from scratch. I haven't seen Hassan, our new member, in almost 10 years. Our vocalist hasn't even had a phone call with him. So really, they're going to be meeting in the studio and, hey, you want to write some music? Oh, yeah, by the way, we only have 4 days to write 2 songs. I've never even met you. So if you put your hands in your pockets, anybody out there, cross them for us.
Yes.
And hopefully, we can earn, John, your fandom. Hopefully, it was a pleasure speaking with you. And, we'd really like you to check out some of that stuff. So check out the Burnout, John, and send us a message and let us know what you think. But the last thing I'll say is we are developing merch right now. And finally, we're getting to the fun part. We're going to have shows planned. We're looking to potentially partner and do a national tour at some point, hopefully within the next year. So if we were to have this interview 6 months ago, it would not be a lot of talking, but now we have, we're all really excited. We're finally able to, do what we've been striving to do for the past year. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before I let you gentlemen go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Absolutely.
This is Trey Alexander.
And this is Jon-Mikel Valudes
of Valerian Sun. And you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has that podcast link and the YouTube link, and please subscribe to that YouTube link. Click the notification bell to get everything that's coming up for this podcast, and trust me, we got a lot of great stuff coming up. Trust me. And get out and check out Valerian Sun. Give this band a fair shot. Check out their singles All at Once, The Burnout, and Nina, and plus their cover of David Bowie's Fame. Trust me, give this band a fair shot. You will dig them. So, Jon-Mikel and Trey, I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, John.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.